Hey guys, JHoyt here. Before we get this one started, I just want to say thank you for all the people that have been subscribing recently. I've been seeing you guys pop up on my notifications, so thank you guys so much. Welcome to the squad, welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are enjoying your stay. But for those new people, or those people that just haven't yet, make sure to go down below. We're on the road to 250 subs, trying to get to the ultimate goal of 1,000 plus. Make sure to go down below, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. And don't forget, you can always change your mind later. What's on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Welcome back to episode number 22 of our franchise mode here on NHL 21 with the Detroit Red Wings. Right, this past year was, pretty decent, and we were kind of close to making the playoffs, but also not, because the Metro Division was just absolutely stacked, right? It's like 5 or even 6 people, or I should say teams, that had all 100 points. I think it was 5 in the end, but no matter the changes we made, during that run, making some big changes, throughout the season, it just wasn't good enough. Didn't make it to the playoffs, and now here we are. We sit at the draft right now, and we have some updates for you. So I skipped through some of the boring part, being the retirements, the draft interviews, because realistically, there's a lot of prospects out there. Going through all of them is just, hard, and trying to find players that are going to be good for us. But we do have a couple of retirements to announce. So we had Brian Little that we acquired at the deadline for Gabe Vilardi. So he's gone. I actually really wanted to re-sign him for that 4th line. But Little's gone. And then Marchessault is also gone. So we were going to be trading Marchessault at the draft as well. But unfortunately, he retires, and we don't get to do that. But here's where we sit, right? I don't remember what pick we have, but let's go check this out. So we have 9 picks overall. We have 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, 2 4ths, 2 5ths, a 6th, and a 7th. And we have a lot of players we are watching that all look to be somewhat good. But here's the thing, though. We also have a lot of players that underperformed last year. It's time, right? We need to be holding players accountable. And what the first thing we did is moved our last head coach to an assistant, right? I guess I didn't realize when I signed him that I thought his was balanced as his coaching style, or whatever the correct name of it is. Actually, I can just show you. So when you're on your coaches, right, you have your teaching specialty, which is your specialty, right? Whatever you do best. So he was a generalist. So I was like, oh, great. And he fit our team pretty well, and right, he fit most of our players. But then I guess what I didn't realize is once you go back to whatever this is, his scheme was physical, right? His coaching style, here it is. Was physical, and I felt like that didn't really match our team super well. So we moved, or we already did, but we're gonna move him back to an assistant coach because he's cheap, and we still got 3 years on his contract. And then we had one coach, I think was our AHL goalie coach, I believe, or it was our NHL goalie coach that retired, because I think I moved a couple of coaches around just to see who fit where, and I probably lost track of it at this point. So we're gonna need a new NHL head coach, we're gonna need a new goalie coach, and that's gonna be it. So we're gonna have to try to find somebody that fits our team really well and also can help us out in the future. I'd love to bring up our AHL coach, but he's just not like not wanting to, right? His happiness is already pretty low, and he just doesn't really fit with most of our team. So that's always tough. So we got coaching underway. We have all of our draft interviews done. Last thing is the trade block, and some names on this board might surprise you. So let me move me out of the way here. So the first one is Steven Stamkos. If you can tell, he's down to an 82 overall with basically no trade value. And yeah, we're going to need that money for other things. So he's going to be out the door on this one. We're going to try to trade him, get as much as we can for him. Brady Tkachuk, same thing. Didn't really perform. He's already decreased his trade value and his overall. Depending on what we do with BERTUZZI, who's down there, will also depend on what we do with Tkachuk as well. So, maybe do we trade them both for, some young up-and-coming playmaker or something? Maybe we'll have to see. Savard's just there because he's a pending UFA and doesn't want to re-sign with us. And then Billick, I don't really know how to pronounce it, but he's got a lot of trade value and isn't doing very well and doesn't really have a lot of upside, even though he has a lot of trade value on him. So we want a lot of picks. We don't really want to give up a lot of picks for our surplus and wants. So let's get right into it, though. Draft time as usual. I'm going to look for the best player we can, and I'm going to try to look for some trades once it starts. So let's see what we get into in the entry-level draft. So it looks like the best trade for Stamkos is going to be 2 third-round picks. And just in case he gets to be really good, we're going to send him over to the Western Conference. So we're going to accept this one just as it is. So we end up trading Billick straight up to Tampa Bay for the 10th overall pick. I have my eyes on this big defensive from the QMJHL, Lincoln Esche. He's got good stats all around. It says enforcer, but I'm going to guess he's a defensive defenseman, and it's actually a forward right after that I want. So we might be trying to trade up a couple of picks with that 13th overall pick. So let's take Esche here and see what he is. 73. So his stats did look good, right? 73 overall, top 4, medium potential. Obviously, that's good. So let's go try to get this next pick and flip it from our 13. So just a 5th and a 6th along with that 13th overall pick moves us up 2 spots, and we get the player that we want. And if you're wondering why, just look at those grades. A minus, A minus, B, B. He's a playmaker, only needs 1 year apparently till he's ready to the NHL, and yeah, I'm excited. So is he going to be worth that? 75 overall. Perfect. So I'm going to try to go make trades and see what's out there on the trade block, for Tkachuk, Savard, and a couple other players. But if not, we'll see you guys in the re-sign stage. So our next trade is on your screen now. And although this doesn't look like a massive trade, it is. Where we're changing 2 of our top 9 left wings for 2 of Vegas's. So you guys have known BERTUZZI, right? He's been with us since the start. Yes, he had a good last couple of years, but also looking at his stats and his progress this past year, he is declining heavy. And obviously, we need to get ahead of that, right? We're trying to build a younger group to grow with, get those few years under their belt, and then see where we're going. Of course, we're only at 16 picks in this draft, and of course, I keep having to make this trade over and over and over again. So let's go back into it. I'll show you guys exactly what we'd be getting in this trade. So we're going to be going over to Vegas and getting their top 2 left wings. So we'd be getting Peyton Krebs. He's a pending, I think it's a UFA at the end of this contract, but 87 overall. He's a playmaker. He's putting up points for them, and still has potential to grow, a little bit more. So he's a no-brainer in this one. Second one, ARSENE, not really sure, but a former 6th overall pick. Good, stats all around, and had his big moment last year. 50 points overall, 20 goals. His first, I guess, big season in the NHL, and his contract is expiring at the end of this year as well. So we still have, obviously a big team around them, but this also helps that we're getting an 87 and an 86 overall back in this trade, and we're definitely going to be getting a lot younger. Finally, BERTUZZI, a 2nd and a 4th over to Vegas in exchange for Krebs. Now let's go see what we can get ARSENE for. And then Tkachuk, a 3rd and a 5th for ARSENE. So I tried to put lots of picks in the first trade and they didn't want them, but you do it separately and all of a sudden it works. So we got our 2 guys. Let's go see if there's anything else. If not, let's go re-sign our players. So welcome to the re-sign stage. Nothing really exciting happening in the rest of the draft. No more trades and a couple of gem goalies, but like, whatever. Like, who knows what those are actually going to become. But centers, we're pretty much full as far as total numbers go, but we do have to re-sign Shane Wright. He wants a 7-year deal. I'd like to get his salary down to like mid nines. I mean, I'll try 9 million just to start, but we'll probably have to bump that up to like 9.5, maybe even $10 million. Or worst case scenario, if we really want to try to get a lot lower, we can just send him a qualifying offer, and I think it's like $5 million or something like that. So AHL guys, as usual, we'll take care of later. But our two new acquisitions to the squad, Krebs and ARSENE. What do these guys want for a new contract? So you want a 4-year deal worth 7.3. So he was making 4.6. Let's try to jump him back down to like mid 5s. Let's try 5.5 at 4 years for him. And what does ARSENE want? 4 years at $4 million. How about $3 million? No, we can even go probably lower than that because he wants $4 million. Let's go $2.5 million for 4 years, right? That'll take him to the end of his contract with our RFA still intact. So I'm excited about that, right? Nobody else there to deal with. I'll worry about those guys later. But so it does look like we need potentially 2 forwards, right? 1 left wing and 1 right wing, either a 3rd or 4th liner for both. So I'll have to make a note of that. But back to the back end now. So we have Wallander still there. I'd like to re-sign Lindholm if possible, but you also want a lot of money. So I don't really feel like giving him like a 4-year deal like he wants. So let's try like a 5 or 5. Let's try like a 5 first and see where that takes us. So that way Wallander can I think that's when Wallander's deal ends. Yeah, because we signed him to a 1.5 extension. So hopefully by that time Wallander will be ready and we can move on as him in our top 4. So let's keep going here. Fox, do you want to re-sign with us by any chance? Ooh, you don't really want a lot of money, but also I really don't want to pay you that much for playing on my 3rd line. I mean, like, maybe if we have money at the end, but like probably not in the end as well. So I mean, what did he do when he was with us? He didn't really put up a lot of points, and plus we'll probably see that same type of contract on the free agent market as well. So I don't think there's any other. I mean, Savard's down here. Tried to trade him, didn't end up working out. Then goaltenders, right? This is where it's going to get really interesting. So we have Dostal, we have Bednar from last year. Holtby ended up going to another team via trade. And then we have a couple of prospect goalies. So although Wolf here did give us a good shot, we need to move on to a couple other younger players. So what's also interesting, franchise, right? If Zanetti, the one we got for whatever his name was, Lukkinen, and he actually played pretty good last year, if you ask me. When he came over, I mean, a little bit of struggles, but still overall pretty good. So I'm hoping, 1 or 2 more years at the AHL level, and he'll hopefully be ready to take on some NHL time. But we have Dostal still under contract, right? 82 overall. I'm going to try to look for a goaltender on the free agent market and see how that turns out. If not, we might go with, whoever wins the battle between Zanetti and Bednar in the preseason. So that's going to be the battle there. So let's go re-sign all of our AHL guys that we want and figure out our prospects, and then let's move on to the free agency. So we have a trade to announce, or I guess try to make go through. So we're sitting at the start of free agency and we're still looking around at players we could possibly get. And I had found this goaltender, RFA, REZA from Chicago. He's 85 overall, 23 years old, and last year put up a really good year as a backup. I think he was probably a lower overall and then grew to above their starter. So although he had a rough start to his AHL career, he's performing in the NHL. So we're going to try to get him from the Chicago Blackhawks. He currently wants a massive contract on the free agency list. That's why I found him, and he wants like a 7-year deal worth like $8 million. So we're gonna try to get him. He is he has a qualifying offer, but as you can tell, $950 is not a lot. So we're going to try to go after this. So we have a couple of gem goaltenders we're going to try to throw in this trade to get him and also get back a second round pick. How about a little 1-for-1 action? You don't want to do that, but it looks like it should be close. So let's try to throw in a draft pick here and see what happens. I guess let's throw in our 3rd round pick from this next year, and there it is. So we acquired a goaltender. We're still looking at other options for the rest of our team, but for now, let's get back into looking. Let's figure out our numbers and see what we exactly need. So welcome back into free agency, and after looking at the numbers, we actually don't need a lot of players this year, which is good. So we already took care of one problem in acquiring that goaltender. So the plan with him, let's just go show you on the thing here. So it's REZA here. Like I said, he wants a crap ton of money. But realistically, I don't want to spend that on him just yet, just because like he hasn't proved almost anything. So I want to wait and see what happens, and hopefully we can get him for a lot cheaper, once later in the off season comes around. So we have his rights, I guess, if you want to call it that, and we'll see what we want to do with him. Obviously we want to keep him because we just spent a lot to get him, but also I don't really want to spend that much on a player that is not necessarily worth it, because there is some other goaltenders on here. I mean, Luukkonen's there, but probably not. Then Hellebuyck's there, but he hasn't really been in good form. Markstrom, Gustafsson have all not really been in good form either. So don't really know what I'm going to do with the goaltender situation just yet, but we're going to wait and see how his offer progresses. But as far as the skaters go, we have 3 open positions on our NHL roster. We need a pair of 4th liners as well as a right defenseman. So we already looked. Obviously, we've done a lot of off-camera work here, and we have offered a few guys some deals. Not two-way. I went to go down to approached. So there it is. So Shane Wright, obviously, we already have. So we offered him a contract. Same thing with Peyton Krebs. I don't remember their exact amounts, but we offered all those guys deals. Then as far as free agents go, we had offered Kaut. I think it's Kaut anyway. But we offered him a 2-year deal at $2.5 million. We also still have to look for a coach, which we're still trying to figure that one out as well. And then Kreider and Shaw both, I think you're getting like 1 year deals or something like that. So, and then of course an AHL prospect that we just need for the guys down there. So let's fast forward a few days here and see who signs and see what we still need. So following a relatively quiet offseason, this is going to be our team to start out the pre-season. Now, yes, it doesn't look, as good as some years before, when we had some 83s and everything on that 4th line. But we're doing something a little bit different this year, right? We hired a coach that is of the offensive teaching type, or the play style, or the coaching scheme, or whatever it may be called. So as you can see down below, ice time allocation, it says roll 3 lines. So ideally we have a really strong top 9, right? A mix of all the players you guys see here, and all those guys will get majority of the time. Then our 4th line will just kind of be there every now and again, probably averaging, about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit lower, per night, depending on penalty kill and everything else. So as you can see on your screen, we got Krebs, Larkin, and Barron. On our 2nd line, Zadina, Wright, and Raymond. 3rd line of Arsene, Norris, and Lindholm. And then on that 4th line, we got Kreider, Kaut, and Tuck. So the main reason to start the lineup like this is once you start scrolling through all of our top 6 and even top 9 forwards, when you look at Krebs, right, all green check marks across the board, right? I was going to start him on the 2nd line just for Zadina, but again, just to start of the preseason. But he has all green there. Zadina, basically has all green except for one that's yellow, all there. Right, I was again gonna start him on the first line, but nope, he's got all green on the second line. Larkin's got all green on that first line. Barron's the one exception that, you know, doesn't really fit, you know, super well with our scheme. But then you have Raymond down here, who's almost all green as well. And then once you go down, it's a little bit off, but not too much. So we have Lindholm gonna be starting on the right wing, just kind of see how that line goes. Like I said, with those top three lines being rolled. Norris in there with pretty much all greens and yellows. ARSENE in there, we know mostly yellows, but still fits in there. Kreider's down there, Kaut and Tuck, all those guys are kind of hit and miss as far as those go. So let's jump back to the defensive side now, and actually our defensemen look really good for those fits as well. So we're going to be starting off with HANIFIN and Ekblad on that first line. We have Wallander and Mann on that second line, and then we brought up one of our prospects in Vero and Glenn Cross. Don't get all excited that, you know, we possibly got rid of someone. Lindholm is still here. So then back to the goaltenders, we have Zanetti up. We actually have 4 goaltenders up in the preseason here. So we have Zanetti. We ended up signing REZA again. So he actually grew 2 overall since the offseason. So he'll be in there eventually. We have Bednar and Dostal. So, you know, who's going to be, it's kind of like a 1-game show for at least Bednar and Zanetti. And then Dostal will kind of get a game in there, and then we'll see, you know, obviously how everyone's performing, and eventually kind of narrow down who's going to be our starting goaltender and who's going to be our backup in the NHL. So, you know, we're looking pretty good in the preseason, at least on paper, you know, as we enter in the preseason, I should say. And I'm excited, right? We have made some moves, right? Some maybe risky moves, but for the most part, we're trying to keep this team mostly together, right? Not just trade everything all the time, even though that kind of ends up being the case anyway. But that's going to be it for today's video, episode number 22 in the books. Next episode will be the start of the regular season and the debut of this new roster, depending on obviously these preseason matchups. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of today's video. If you did enjoy, hit that like button down below if you haven't yet, or if you're brand new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn those post notifications on so you never miss an upload, and don't forget, you can always change your mind later. But as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.